I will find him and I will kill him myself.
One man is not worth all this loss.
I like to win.
So do I.
Welcome back guys to another review. Today we'll be checking out one of the hottest shows of the year called The Day of the Jackal. Before I get started, don't forget to whack the subscribe, notification bell and like button. Truly appreciate it. So let's jump right in. You can tell from the tone of my voice I was quite excited about this show, and I'll go as far as say it's ranking up there with one of the best features of the year so far. This will be an unspoiler review for anyone who hasn't checked out the show, so I'll try as much as possible not to divulge any information or any spoilers throughout the video. So The Day of the Jackal essentially tackles the story of this assassin who operates largely in Europe, taking out high value targets, and during his activities leads to a cat and mouse game with an MI6 agent who's hot on his heels called Bianca. So I'll start off this show. The production value to begin with was immaculate. You could tell the production, the financiers behind this project really put in the money, because it was a welcome approach to be thrust into this European adventure. Even like you could tell they shot most of these things on location, and even if they did it on green screen, it was quite hard to tell, but the essence of Europe is really felt. You can feel the lush European landscapes as it drives across the different countries. You appreciate the grand cities like Berlin and some cities in Spain, and even comes to the disguises that the Jackal implements. Really well done. This is Mission Impossible level type of production, and I appreciate it. So right off the bat, the show is doing things right by putting in the work, and therefore you can appreciate the production value of this. Back to the story. The Jackal mainly operates within Europe, and therefore he's had to take out high value targets within the continent. How he goes about it is quite interesting, because you're shown the process that he takes upon before taking on a job. Him doing scoping out some reconnaissance, identifying the exits, the type of weapon he's going to use. Quite smart, and it's I'll give credit to Eddie Redmayne for relaying this intelligent character. He's a bit scrawny, a bit skinny, but he's someone fully capable of taking out any number of persons. In fact, it brought to mind the line from Mission Impossible Fallout when director Hanley was talking about Ethan Hunt. And the Jackal is essentially a uniquely trained and highly motivated specialist without equal, immune to any countermeasures. No security he cannot breach, and no person he cannot become. And that essentially encompasses the type of person he is. He's very motivated, and the show delves into why he's doing what he does. Is it for the money? Is it for something else? This is something you discover as you watch each episode. And in contrast, we have Bianca, who's identified that these killings are not normal. There's a highly skilled individual who's executing these killings, and she goes on this hunt for the assassin. And her being an MI6 operative faces some resistance from her superiors, because there's no existing evidence to show that her claims are true, and that goes to show the testament of just how good the Jackal is. But Bianca is also just as motivated as the Jackal, and she, in as much as she's motivated, she tends to do things off book at times, and therefore this brings more layers to her character, because she's not all good per se, but this is just my personal opinion. There are certain things she does that she overlooks, and as long as it leads to her getting her expected outcome, then nothing else matters. Another aspect that I came to appreciate was how the action was shot. It felt more grounded and realistic. It wasn't bombastic, it wasn't crazy, it wasn't over the top like Fast and the Furious. It was well grounded, well realized, and it seemed quite feasible, like this is something that could happen in the real world. The other aspect that I did enjoy was how this show focused more on the characters, because this is not really a spoiler, but the show is essentially a deconstruction of these two main characters, which is the Jackal, the assassin, and Bianca, the MI6 agent. And this being a character piece works in favor of the show because it offers more depth and layers to it other than the bombastic Jason Bourne or Luc Besson movie that will have gotten surely have been the one tackling this project. The show focusing on characterization leads to the next aspect of the show, which is the pacing. It's fairly paced. Since it's not action-packed show, it leaves room to breathe. We get to live the life of these characters. We get to see how they prepare, like the Jackal for his missions, or how Bianca goes about preparing for how she's going to take down the Jackal. And there are some episodes that are action-packed, some are more story-oriented, and that gives a good balance between action and story. And this works to the benefit of the final product. So anyway, back to the meat and potatoes of the show, and this is the dichotomy between Bianca and the Jackal, and obviously the highlight of the show and what makes it work. The show does a really awesome and fantastic job of highlighting their differences, but also identifying the similarities which they share quite a lot. And one of the major elements is family. Both of them have a family, and usually in this type of genre, assassin espionage affair, we often have the law enforcement officer and the perpetrator operating at a higher level of intelligence compared to their peers, and this demands so much of them, and they end up in situations where both of them are confronted at times between their family and the job. You are thrust into Bianca's shoes. She is a mother and a wife, and her unavailability is affecting the family dynamic, same way the Jackal's unavailability is affecting his family dynamic with his wife and his child, and they are often forced to choose, make a choice between the job and the family. And the show does a good job of having them string just along that line of making a choice, and that really works. The Jackal, especially, he's inconvenienced because Bianca catching up to him at some point affects some of his plans, and he has to pivot and do other things to make sure that his plan goes accordingly. And he's preparing for this one major mission. There are other missions he does, but the show highlights this one major mission that he's been preparing for large chunks of the episodes, and this demands so much of him at a point where his wife is giving him so much pressure. And yeah, you'll check it out and see how that evolves. Bianca, on the other hand, is also forced to choose by being a present mother or being an MI6 operative. And Asla Kobero, she plays Tokyo in Money Heist. She's the wife to the Jackal. She does a really awesome job. I appreciated her performance largely because she's not just relegated to the wife. She has this fire to her. She's a spirited and confident wife, and she does so much with what she's given, and she represents this case of normality to his life, and she brings out his humanity, because without this family unit he's reduced to this cold and calculated killer. And therefore he makes this promise to Nuria, and Bianca's activities sort of make it hard for him to keep this promise to Nuria being his wife, and therefore she's giving him this pressure, and he has to choose. He has to essentially prioritize what matters the most, and therefore he's left clutching at straws, trying to see how he can function by getting the job done and also saving his family. And this final mission is the type that leaves you at the edge of your seat, because you are left, wondering if he's going to pull it off or if he's going to flounder. And how he goes about this mission, fantastic television. I tell you guys, this episode 9 has to be the best within the 10 episode order, because this mission is just something else. So besides the Jackal and Bianca, we have an awesome supporting cast. We have Chukwudi Iyuji, who plays Halpro. Halpro is essentially an ally to Bianca. He works for MI6 as well, some sort of superior, but they have this respect and understanding. And he's not on screen for long, however, anytime he's on screen, he's always fantastic. We have Charles Dance, who plays a billionaire called Timothy Winthrop, and of course it's, Charles Dance, so he's obviously playing a rich British bastard who's obviously scheming and giving these eccentric speeches. Yeah, so overall this show was very entertaining, guys. Best as a binge session, because upon release it was a weekly release, and you'll be better served watching this in one session. It can be done. You're not even going to feel the time, because you'll be so immersed and engaged. And therefore I'd always recommend the binge option of weekly releases. I did a binge at the first 8 episodes, and then the last 2 I did the weekly releases. So at the end of it all, final thoughts: this is one of the best shows of the year. Very engaging, entertaining, fun, has a lot of tension, great performances, great production, worth it. I'm going to give it a proper 9 out of 10, and I'm hoping the agency, because this year we've been having a lot of really awesome shows. We've had Lioness season 2, and we've had Day of the Jackal, and I'm hoping the agency is going to bring this home. Yeah, so thanks for joining me for this review. For more reviews, don't forget to subscribe, like, and whack that notification bell for more reviews.